You mean like sky's the limit? Yeah, sky's the limit. Okay, 250,000. That was as much as they could think.
Boy.
He snapped his fingers, was out the next day, but he promised to show up at court. Well, day of their arraignment, guess who didn't show up? Guess who didn't show up? Right?
Right, of course.
Let me ask you a question. Now, you know some guys that have dealt with the law. If you made bail and then you didn't show up at the arraignment after a dismemberment, like how much effort would they put into finding your ass?
They're going to contact the, not the sheriffs.
Marshals?
The marshals.
Man.
And they're going to serve a warrant immediately for them to go get me.
Right.
Immediately. It's going to be issued at the court. The judge is going to issue it, and they're going to go out and get me. They're going to go to my location.
Go straight to jail. Don't pass go. No $200.
Not when we catch up with you or when we catch you on a ticket or that. No. They're going to get right there. They're going to get the warrant, and they're going to go and they're going to execute it.
So this guy is on the lam for 7 fucking months. Okay? 7 months. They can't catch up to him. This guy. This little mousy fuck.
Old guy.
And the only reason why they catch up to him is because he walks into a grocery store and he steals a hoagie sandwich.
What?
He shoplifts a hoagie sandwich on camera. 7 months later. In Pennsylvania. Dude, there was a guy who stole a piece of pizza and got life.
Yep.
25 to life.
Yep.
Stealing a piece of pizza. This guy dismembered a body, jumped bail, fled for 7 months, stole a hoagie sandwich.
Right.
All right. So now they got him. And by the way, it was 2 security guards that asked him to step aside so they could search his fucking whatever. Right? Now, let's say you got that kind of heat coming down on you and 2 fucking mall cops say, hey, we got to talk to you. What are the chances that you just don't fucking run?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Are you going to listen to them go to their back room and then never come back out again?
Nope. That's like going to some West Tech security office and wait to get hemmed up by the police.
Right.
Fuck, I ain't going nowhere with some security guards.
Right.
Shoot me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But what does Durst do? He goes with them and gets arrested, and they figure out who he is, and he's extradited back to Galveston, Texas to face murder charges. Now, all right. Been a lot of weird moves, a lot of stupid moves, but now you figure story's over. I mean, slam dunk. Dead to rights. To fucking... And he doesn't even deny that he dismembered the body. He doesn't deny it. Because he can't. Why? Because some of the receipts are in his name at Chalmers for bow saws and shit. So now it's time for Texas justice. So fucking Durst hires this guy named DeGuerin. And another guy, I think his last name was Ramsey. And these are 2 fucking the best criminal defense attorneys that I think Texas might have had. Go ahead, Sean.
Obviously, he's paying top dollar for some good...
$600,000 apiece.
How does he have access to his wealth? I mean, don't they... If you're on the run, don't they, like, freeze your accounts?
Not back then. I don't know that they did. And he had... you got to remember, he comes from trust funds and all this other shit. So a lot of the stuff might be in shell corporate names that he has access to.
So he's hiding shit.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just layered. It's just not exactly name in his name.
So what is he spending money on?
Criminal defense attorneys. He gets
how much is he getting?
$600 apiece. $1.2 million. I think all in all he paid for $1.5 million for his defense in Galveston, Texas. And he admits
that's like when you have enough money to hire whoever the fuck you want.
He did. Yeah. So he's there. Now, the prosecutors are like, I mean, what's the case? Guy admits to dismembering him. The guy admits that it was his gun that killed him. And it was. The gun was registered to Robert Durst. That killed old Morris Black. The fuck's the case? It's a fucking slam dunk. No problem. But Durst's and his
defense team.
And make no mistake, these are real Texas lawyers. So we're talking about like Matlock. We're not talking Johnny Cochran.
Okay.
Right? So these are slick. These are those old kind of like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, let me just tell you something. He's a red-blooded American like any of us. Right? Those type of attorneys, but real smart. So what's the defense? What do you guess is the defense? What could you throw up on something like that?
That this guy was scared for his life. That the guy was threatening him to kill him or something.
And let me ask you a question. You've been out there. You've seen some dudes, have to put up some defenses.
Right.
How, when you kill somebody and then you say, wow, he threatened me.
Yeah.
It was self-defense.
But the bullets went in the back of his head. So,
right. Like, so how well does that defense work for most people?
I mean, maybe there's probably about 2-3% that actually it works for, but usually it doesn't work out.
And well, let me ask you this. What if those guys also admitted that, yeah, I cut up the guy's body up.
Dude, come on, bro.
Put him in trash bags. Threw him in the water.
How is it that they're even trying the guy after he's admitted to all this?
Well, I mean...
Why is that, Chumahan?
Because he wasn't charged for any crime for anything that happened after. Like, they didn't say abusing a corpse. They could have. They could have charged him for abusing a corpse, and there'd still be a trial, but he admitted it. And he could say, like, well, I was scared, blah, blah, blah. But then they would say, well, you said this, and da-da-da. And he'd say, yeah. So abusing a corpse. But they didn't bring abusing a corpse. They just brought a murder charge. And he said accidental and self-defense. And what he said happened was, yes, I was dressed like a woman. Yes, I was wearing a wig. Yes, I was calling myself Dorothy Signer. And yes, I was pretending to be mute. Why? Because I was tired of being Robert Durst. Why? Because these New York tabloids were hounding me about the disappearance of my wife. I was tired of it. And it was starting to become a story again, and I just wanted to disappear. So I came to Galveston, beautiful city, Galveston. I love it here. I love Galveston. I love Texas. Okay, but then why did you kill this guy? He was in my apartment, in my duplex. He was in my room, and he had a face, and he looked upset. And I ran to the hiding spot in the oven where I kept my gun. And it wasn't there. And I turned around, and Morris Black had the gun.
Wanted me to give him some pussy.
Wanted me to
which I didn't have, because I'm not really a woman.
And he knew I was Robert Durst. I told him.
And I showed him the brown eye, and he even got madder at me.
And so he fucking wanted me to give him some money.
Some head. Some money or some head. I either want some bread or some head. That's what he told him.
So he goes.
So I blew the guy, and he still wasn't happy.
So he fucking he had the gun on me. He was gonna kill me.
Don't make me take my clothes off.
He wanted to see my padded bra. Right. So then I grabbed the gun, and we wrestled with the gun. Look at Steve's face.
God.
Look at his wrestle with the gun. And it turned like this.
Yeah.
And it shot him. And I fell to the ground. And when I hit, my elbow hit, another shot went off.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I got up, I was dazed from the noise. And I looked down, and there was a pool of blood around Morris Black's head.
And I was scared.
I put my head in my hands, and I sat on my bed with my head in my hands. And I was thinking, like, what am I going to do? No one would believe me because I was Robert Durst. He already accused me of having something to do with the disappearance. I'm not even over that. Still breaks my heart thinking about it.
Right. Yeah.
And this accidental gun went off.
Now what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? So I went to the seawall in Galveston. It was a wall along the sea. And I walked along there and smoked weed and drank a lot of Jack Daniels because I love whiskey. Jack Daniels. Like any good old boy. And I decided, in the moment of, I wasn't thinking clearly, I admit that.
I was on drugs and alcohol.
I was on drugs and alcohol. And I decided that I had to get rid of the bodies, and I thought, I'll just roll it up in a fucking carpet. More like a sleeping bag. Carry it out in the night. But his body was too big. And I wasn't going to be able to do it. And that's when I realized I was going to have to cut the body up. So I went to Chalmers. I did. And I bought a bow saw. I did. Yes. And dude, in his testimony, right, he was coached perfectly. Because the prosecution was like, did you go to Chalmers? Yes, sir. Did you buy a bow saw? Yes, sir. Look at Steve's face.
Yes, sir, I did that, sir. Yes, sir, that was me, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
The fucking, I hate that shit, dude.
And there was a point when he was telling the story about buying a wig and a purse at Walmart that the jury laughed.
No.
And let's give credit to where credit's due. Durst took the stand. And you know, normally in like 99.99999% of the cases, the defendant's never supposed to take the stand. And that's attorney malpractice to let your client take the stand in a murder case. So they took the big gamble. He went up there and he told the story, and the jury laughed when he was saying, yeah, and I bought a wig and a purse. And the jury was like, man, dressing like a woman. Not crazy. So he tells them the whole thing. Yeah, threw in the bag, blah, blah, blah. But the only person that could not corroborate that it was some kind of struggle that led to the shot and it was accidental was Morris Black.
Forensic, okay.
Right, and the forensic. Only problem is the shot went in the head. And just like you said, bro, if the shot was in the back of the head, and that story was going to be hard to figure. That's a hard. Well, we wrestled around and the gun went around his back of his head and went off. I don't know how these things work. That was scary. I don't remember a lot about it.
You can get off like that.
Right. He did. The jury came back and found him not guilty of murder.
$1.2 million.
They found him not guilty of fucking murder. I wonder if I can get to. I want to hear Steve's reaction to the fucking.
Unbelievable.
Let's see if I can get to this. Let's see if I can do this.
Were they able to bring up the disappearance of the wife?
They might not have been able to because that might not have been relevant. How is that relevant to whether or not he
It's
killed?
It's not really, but I mean, in the face of that, wouldn't you?
Let's see. So that's, you could see the linoleum. They said that they saw, like, look, Morris was shot in the face with my gun. Let's see if I can give you a little taste of.
A bunch of garbage bags and stuff like that.
That's him talking. That's Robert Durst.
Went back to the house, and I'm sure I got more stoned and more drunk, and I dismembered the corpse, primarily with the axe, but some with the bow saw, and I think another saw.
This motherfucker's out, bro.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, bro. How in the fuck do you fucking, are you not? God damn, dog. These motherfuckers are no good, bro.
Dude, I mean, think about this.
Broken, bro.
Let me ask you a different question. Let's say you go to a stereo shop on off hours, and let's say your idea is, I got an inside line on a bunch of fucking, $100,000, $200,000 worth of equipment. I'm gonna steal it. I got a couple people with me. There's like one or two people there. I'm gonna zip tie, move them to the side so they don't get in trouble. And I'm going to steal the stuff, and no one's going to get hurt. It's not even about that, right? I go there, stereo shop, still stereo equipment. It's not health equipment. Nobody's lives depend on the health equipment, right? And then somebody across the street, let's say, calls 911, says something's not right, right? And then I'm like, fuck it, I better get out of here. Nobody got hurt, right? You run, right? You didn't. Nobody's cut up to pieces. Nobody's
Nothing.
shot,
Nobody's
right?
hurt.
Nah. Did the cop? I mean, how do you square the fact that this guy cut up a guy? And the person who had an idea about a stereo shop, nobody got hurt. That guy, there's a manhunt.
SWAT team.
Right.
Choppers, 21 officers surrounding the home.
Right.
SWAT gear. And that guy is over there getting, looks like he's getting Botox, you know?
How do you square that, bro?
His hair fucking bleached, huh?
Right. Like, how do you
Highlights in his hair and Botox.
on a dumb defense?
Right.
And they never found the head.
This is part of what the fucking problem is with this fucking country, man. Anybody else would have been through. No
Right.
bail, not out, none of that. You're done.
Right.
This motherfucker, because he's a millionaire, is buying his way out of every fucking mess.
What kind of suitcase?
One of these giant Walmart suitcases.
That's what he put the torso in. Just tossing shit in the water. Body part.
We worked for days, many days, getting him ready for the kind of questions I knew were going to be coming on cross-examination. Tell us about what it was like, sir. Where did you start to cut on Morris Black? Did you cut his arm off first, or did you cut his leg off first? What did you use to cut the leg with? Show us, what part of his leg did you saw on first, Mr. Durst, your friend, that you were cutting up?
There was a concern on our part that
That's the prosecutor. No, this is the
he
defense.
sometimes describes things without a lot of emotion. Hearing him describe the technical dissection of that body would lead someone to believe he's a cold-blooded killer.
That's his defense team. They're prepping him. They know what the prosecution's going to ask you. Tell us where you cut him up, sir. How are you going to explain it? And they're like, he had an ability to explain how he did it in a closed, clinical way, which might not sit well with the jury. And what these attorneys told him was like, look, if you don't, a lot of psychologists in situations like this, the last psychologists say you can't remember all the details because it was tragic and it was shocking. So don't try to remember if you don't. Not asking him to lie, but telling him that's how the lawyers do it. Don't try to remember if you don't. Right? And when the prosecution does, they ask him those exact questions. He says, I don't remember. It was, obviously, you have all that, I don't. Wait, hold on. I want to get to the
Body parts.
Exploding?
Hold on. I want to show you. The part where the verdict comes in. That's one of the jurors right there. And she's explaining how they arrived at the decision that they arrived at. All right. I think this is worth. All right, right here.
You can't consider everything that happened.
That's the prosecutor.
During and before. It all goes to the man's state of mind. It all goes to his intent.
Bob Durst is not guilty of murder. Bob Durst is not guilty of murder. Whatever else he may have done is for another time and place.
So the message was this. Yeah, he did cut him up. Yeah, he did evade arrest. Yeah, it was all wrong. But he didn't murder him. And he wasn't charged with any of that other shit. So if you want to think about it and try to do whatever, it's not right. If you probably think he probably killed him under reasonable doubt standards, that's still not guilty. Probably is not beyond a reasonable doubt. So he's still not guilty.
Thank you.
And the other thing that you kind of can't take away from this is the amount of, like, so you spend 1.2 million on the defense.
Yeah.
It's still not guaranteed.
Of course.
It doesn't look good to anybody. So you're rolling the fucking dice. You didn't take a plea deal. You're rolling the dice on the big one. How many people got that kind of fucking guts? Spend 1.2 million and lose, possibly. Spend the rest of your life in Galveston jail. So you caught on some level, there's a part of me that sort of was like, look, I don't like the guy, but I gotta respect the fact that he gambled and he didn't have a secure deal.
Is it a gamble when you have money to burn?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
The gamble's for your life.
Gambles for your life, yeah. But, and the gamble's also that it's not guaranteed. Yeah, you got money to burn, but it's not guaranteed.
But you're not gambling the money.
Yeah, you're gambling your life.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And think about it. What if they would have came back to him and said, look, you can do 5.
All right.
Do 5.
Yeah.
2.5. We don't want to go through this whole fucking thing either. But he was like, fuck it. Just do it live. But when you watch the when the jury comes back, I think the jury took like 6 weeks to render verdicts.
That's not good.
Think about waiting 6 weeks to find out.
Now to a courthouse in Galveston, Texas, where jurors still have not reached a verdict in the bizarre murder trial of real estate heir Robert Durst.
The trial itself lasted 6 weeks. Some people here are beginning to worry that the jury might take that long to decide whether Robert Durst is guilty of murder.
Is that the seawall?
That's the seawall.
Wow.
Where he was smoking weed and thinking about cutting up his buddy's body and putting him in trash bags. Like everybody in the courtroom standing up. Look at this fat
Maybe
ass with his
seated?
khakis.
Fucking cop.
Fucking cop.
Rat
Mr.
cop.
Foreman, I understand you have a verdict. Will you hand it to the bailiff?
Look at her.
Yeah.
A real fucking
She's
mess.
rugged, huh? They're speaking about the judge who's a woman, yet her face is as wide as her neck.
Right.
She looks like a toe with lipstick on it.
Will the defendant please rise?
You think she pleasured herself before the night before?
She don't look like she's ever had any pleasure.
That's why I was asking. Like I was thinking maybe she was using. Okay.
Using a hanger?
Look at Durst in the mirror.
Durst.
All right, just take a look at this picture.
Okay.
All right, take a look at this. This is one of the Matlocks.
Mm-hmm.
This is the other Matlock. Looks like he's in the hair club for men getting some plugs.
I
don't know.
Who's the other guy sitting in front?
I don't know who that fuck that guy
That
is.
motherfucker's somebody.
Right.
Because he didn't even stand up.
No. Okay. And then there's Tiny Durst getting ready to face fucking... He's got to figure out what's it going to be. And look, watch his face, man. He's already breathing hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I ain't judging him for that. I would be fucking...
I'd be breathing hard too.
shooketh. He's grabbing the desk for support. He's trying to figure out how... I mean, this guy finally... That guy that was sitting decides, fuck it, I guess I'm supposed to stand.
For the verdict of the jury is such. With the jury, find the defendant, Robert Durst, not guilty.
Look at that face of relief. Look at him breathing, bro.
Is there anything the attorneys would like to say at this point?
I mean, his soul left his body for a minute there. He's looking at the jurors like, who the fuck kind of people are they?
Yep.
Who would give me a full acquittal?
Right. He can't believe it.
He can't believe it. Look at that
Can't believe it.
face.
That's the exact face you make when you just dodged a bullet, bro. That's
Right.
what you look like.
Right. That fucking rocket propelled grenade, you smelled the cinders
Right,
going
dude,
by.
that's how you look. You're just like, fuck.
Look at that face.
Look at that, dude.
Look at that. He can't fucking believe
No
it.
way.
He's shocked.
He's fucking shocked, dude.
His soul just came back to his body. Did they say not? His attorney had to tell him yes.
Yeah. But hold on a second. Because when you're like, I remember that when Jessica had Vincent,
Yeah.
I remember the only thing I was paying attention to was when he came out,
Yeah.
genitals, because we didn't know. We didn't want to know if we had a boy or
Right,
girl.
right,
We
right.
waited till- And I remember like, I've already held the baby, cut the umbilical cord, so Jessica's already got the baby. It's already been like a minute and a half into the birth,
Right.
and I asked Jessica, "Is it a boy or a girl?" Like I completely missed it.
Right.
Because you get what I'm saying?
I
Like,
do.
It's the same way that he didn't hear them say not guilty.
Right.
You're in it. You're like just so. You're not even hearing. So you're like, wait a minute. Did they just? That's how he was.
But what's crazy
in shock.
is initially he heard it because you saw him
Sure.
in disbelief, but then his conscious mind finally snapped to and was like, wait a minute, what
Wait a
did
minute,
they
you
say?
better ask somebody and make sure that you heard the right thing.
And his attorney's like, yeah, motherfucker, they said, yeah.
Yeah, nigga. Now
That's
sign over the
exact-
rest of that fucking
Yeah.
600 grand.
Look at him, dude.
Yeah, man.
He can't believe
He's
it.
got like a rush of coke.
What we
This
did
motherfucker,
was
man. He's like, I
for
killed
all
that
of us.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
Now, look, that's one of the jurors, that guy right there.
Another fucking crossdresser.
I know, dude. No woman looks like a woman and no guy looks like a guy in this whole entire story.
We kept going back
What the jurors?
Going back to what? This
All right.
bitch.
All right.
to the charge that was put forth to the jury as to the actual event, that one moment in time.
It was a very unpopular occurrence when Bob Durst was found not guilty. The townspeople, friends, relatives, they weren't happy with the verdict that was brought forward. But when Mr. Durst was on the stand, I felt he was talking from the heart.
He was talking from the heart. What the fuck do you make of that? Dude, how many times do you think a juror or a judge would listen to your testimony, Big Lux, and say, you know what? I know he did what he did, but he's talking from the heart. We give him a pass. Give him a pass. It's fucked up. The defense attorney later, who was talking about it, he said, you got to understand something about Texas. He said something to the effect of, we only hang horse thieves, not murderers. Because no horses in Texas need stealing, but some people need to die. What do you think of that, Sean? What do you think about a culture where they go, don't steal my car. No car needs stealing, but there are some folks that do need to die. So if you get up on a murder charge, you might have actually a chance
Is
to be.
Texas an open carry law, open carry state?
Yeah, and one of the things that I think is worth noting is that, you know, the guy was in Durst's part of the house, the fourplex. So think about, it's just Texas. So if somebody's in your residence,
You have permission.
you could do whatever the fuck you want. Even though clearly he killed the guy and they never found the head, so they don't know if they shot from the back of the head. And probably what's more likely that happened is kind of the same thing with Berman was once the guy knew he was Robert Durst and went to the library and did research all the time. Once you figured out who the fuck this guy was and knew he had a lot of money, I bet you he was kind of like, hey, Mr. Durst, you know, I'm in a little bit of trouble. Need a couple of grand. And, you know, I'm going to keep your secret because I'm a loyal guy, but it sure would help me to keep the secret if you would give me some money.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe Durst was like, I'll fucking just shoot you. Mm-hmm. Something like that. When nobody knows. So while he's while he's going through all that,
You might think the dude's going to tell.
So why is he on trial now for Susan Berman's murder? Because the prosecutor in the Berman case, John Lewin, came down and interviewed Robert Durst while he was being held over for the Texas thing. Mm-hmm. 3 hours he talked to. Now, let me ask you a question, Steve. Let's say somebody you know committed a crime in California. Let's say somebody you know's that same guy's being held up in another state and they're in jail. And the prosecutor of the crime in California says, hey, would it be all right if I came down and talked to you? Do you want to talk to me? What are the